Hello, Miss Nancy. Thank you for coming. Hello, Miss Johnson. Thank you for coming. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. We will get started in about 5 minutes. Allow more people to come on. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll get started in a few minutes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just waiting a few more minutes for more people to hop on. Oh, shucks. Hold on. Hello, everyone. I know a couple more people are trying to join, so we're going to give them about one more minute. Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. We will get ready to get started. Hold on. Thank you to everyone who is on the webinar. I know people will continue to join us, but for the sake of time, we will get started. So thank you for joining. Like I said, welcome to another Let's Talk with Smile Therapy. And today we will have a great presentation for you all. Please, 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 if you have any questions or comments, feel free to either raise your hand so that we can unmute you or send us a message in the chat box. I'm Ms. Venable. For those who may not know me, I'm the CEO and a therapist at Smile Therapy Services. And we are going to have two of our therapists presenting today. And so just some housekeeping rules. When we, if you want to speak, please make sure that your background noise is clear so that everyone can hear you. And when you are sending us a message in the chat box, make sure you put it to all panelists and attendees. Okay, so that way that everyone can see the question that you are asking. I think that is it. I see a couple more people joining us. Hello to everyone who just joined. We are about to get started, and we actually are going to have Miss Danielle Nelson. She is going to get us started today. And hold on one second. So Ms. Nelson, take it away.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to our Parent Talk. Today we're focusing on how to keep your child motivated and academically engaged for the rest of this school year. I also have another title here that you can see. It says Securing Our Students' Future. When I thought about this school year and the time that we have left, I just wanted to encourage all of our parents and our colleagues that our children's education is so important. These are building blocks in their foundation. So we have to approach this as a very serious matter. Although things are a little different now, we still have to keep this in the forefront of our minds. So I just wanted to remind us that a solid education is a strong foundation to our children's lives and their opportunities. So let's invest in our children now so we can get a greater return later. I wanted to open up with a different icebreaker. So if you've been joining our parent talks, we wanted to change it up a little bit today and just throw out some hot topics just to get you guys talking. Some interventions that we do with our students, we try to put topics out there that they can respond to so we can see how they're thinking and just see where their emotions are as far as some current issues. So some of the topics that I wanted to bring up today, we have 4, and I'll read them out. It says the latest decision about school's end date and possible early start date in fall 2020. So I'm sure many of you have heard that DCPS will be ending the school year a little early and some charter schools are remaining open. So I wanted to see how you feel about that. Some other hot news with DCPS, there are going to be major funding cuts to the Head Start program and some job cuts. So I wanted to see if you guys just heard about that, and I have additional information to share if you're interested. Another hot topic, should students learn new material or focus on current standards and material? This was a big buzz with some parents. Some had pros, some had cons. So I want to see what you think. And no academic assessments this year. Now what? How do we truly assess our students' progress? So I just want to open the floor just to see how you're thinking on some of these hot topics in education. And I'll follow the chat as well. And if you want to raise your hand, I'm sure you can do that. Or anyone, how are we feeling about the school's end date or possible early start date in the fall?
Okay, hold on. We have Ms. Zachary. I'm about to let her talk.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Zachary.
Hey, I feel like, for the kids, it's very confusing. Like my daughter, she just thinks she's never going back to school at this point. But I do think it would be a good idea, being as though for most schools they're using Class Dojo, that if they were to give them new material so they can be prepared for the next school year, that they would have a head start on that instead of being stuck when they go into these new environments and meeting new people and learning new things.
Thank you, Ms. Zachary. Anyone else? Let's see.
So I think I'll just chime in. I think it's as far as the no academic assessments, I think that's going to be a little tough one. I'm sure the kids are happy, but as it relates to really assessing whether the students have made the progress to go to the next grade level, I think everyone is really stuck on that part of it because if you really didn't have the distant learning all the way together, how do you truly assess if a student is ready to move to the next grade level? And unfortunately, the schools are going to a pass-fail, which is not always helpful for our kids, and I think as parents, you all should really look at whether or not you feel your child is ready to move on to the next level. It could be detrimental to them moving forward when they're not truly ready to move forward. And so we see this all the time where kids are being pushed to the next grade and they're not at that point where they can really be in that grade level. So therefore you see a lot of behavior issues because it's avoided, because they don't know the material. So I think that, we really have to evaluate they really have to evaluate how they are going to determine if the student is ready for the next school year or not. I think that's been one of my concerns that I've been looking at with the different students that we work with. How are you really assessing if they are ready to go to the next level when they've had all these months off from school? Ms. Smith, I'm coming to you. Hold on. Unmute. Go ahead and see if you can, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would have to agree with you in terms of your concerns. I'm currently the learning coach for my grandson, and I'm a retired college professor who knew nothing about teaching children. I knew a lot about working with adults, but because each grade level begins at the end of the previous school year in terms of students' academic preparation, I'm really, really concerned when children could ostensibly be missing 2 to 3 months of instruction that could be critical for success at their next grade level. So I would really support the idea that since schools are ending because of the coronavirus and the stay-home orders, that we really consider possibly starting early in the fall, if that's going to be an option, only because we could start to see a real domino effect if we don't make some major concessions to make sure, because assessment is not always the gold standard for what our children know, but at least it gives us some information. And in the absence of it, I'm concerned. I'm really, really concerned. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Ms. Smith for that feedback, and we share the same concern with you. We know this crisis, yes, it's a health crisis, but we see it turning into an education crisis if we do not get a jump start on intervention and plans for our academic school year and how we're going to end. So it's scary to think about, but we must put our brains together and come up with a plan that's going to work for our kids. Anyone else before I move on?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Miss Myrick. Hold on. Do you want to talk? You can raise your hand. Hold on. Go ahead, Myrick. No. Okay, I thought she wanted to talk. I don't know if she's unmuted yet. Hold on. Make a pan of this. We also have a message in the chat box from Ms. Lorick. She says that she agrees. She thinks it's going to be difficult, and she thinks that they should try to do something in the summer, maybe test or do some extra work in the summertime as a way to help them get ready for the next grade level. She said that it would be a disservice to the children if we just let them move on.
Absolutely.
So I definitely agree. And I'm interested, any parents who have younger kids, how do you all feel about the cuts in the Head Start? I really was appalled kind of by that. And I don't know, Danielle, if you've heard the whole kind of story around it. So actually, DCPS has decided to give back some funding for Head Start, being as though they were not able to provide the safety measures that they were supposed to be providing with their younger students. So if you know, just to give you a good understanding of what they mean by safety procedures and measures, they were cited on a number of occasions of basically putting children in harm's way. And that included teachers hitting on kids. That included the environment not being safe for kids. And they were cited by, I believe, Aussie or whoever gave out the grants money, or I think it may have been a federal grant, by this program, because they were finding so many issues at the different schools in Head Start. And I just thought that was really ridiculous, and it really touched on the lack of training that they have provided for the Head Start program, especially in the DCPS schools. So I thought that was very, very concerning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a hot topic for us because we rarely hear that we're giving back money. And so it is the decision of DCPS to relinquish the funds and focus on other strategic measures in around the areas of safety. And what this will do, the services that will be cut are instructional coaching, the dental services under healthcare, the parenting support, also just overall preparation for our babies to get ready for kindergarten. So we had 2 reactions already from our Ward 7 chair of the Education Council, and also the president of the Washington's Teachers Union, and they're just as surprised that we're giving back money and not really holding it for resources, especially during this time that we're in crisis. So we were shocked as professionals, and I wanted to hear what you all have to say as the parents, because I know many of these services help all of us, all of our families.
Yeah, I think that was a good point, Ms. Nelson. You want to go to the next?
Yep, next slide.
Yeah.
All right, so today's discussion, just wanted to really hone in on some things that we can do to keep our students motivated for the rest of the school year, and not just our kids, but you too. You know, you guys are doing the direct service now, you're the frontline workers now, so these are just reminders for you guys to keep your energy and your morale up. So the first one I listed was maintain a structured routine, and I use the word maintain because I'm sure you guys are adjusted to this period or still getting adjusted, but this is how it's been for a little over a month. So I'm sure you all have been utilizing schedules and routines for your family, for your home life. So I wanted to say maintain a structured routine. We all know that structure, routine, and predictability creates a sense of normalcy for our kids and for us. So this will be a great time for you to organize your time, prioritize your time, maximize your time. And so we always focus on how to get rid of bad habits, but I wanted to focus on how to maintain good habits and even keep and just implement great habits. So even when our kids go back to school and when you get back into your everyday norm, you'll have this as a foundation, that routine, that structure. The next key point, be enthusiastic about education. Get excited about it. You know, your kids and your students, I keep saying kids, and I want to just let you guys know, I know we have a range of ages that we're working with, but I wanted you to know that they look to you for your energy. They want to see your support. They want to see you still involved in their education. So while you're at home, you know, be involved. See what they're learning. Communicate with the teachers. See how you can be a part of their homework assignments, those extra assessments that teachers are giving. Just have fun with learning. With the connect to learning to the bigger picture point, it's all about accountability. So I wanted to just remind our parents that we are creating building blocks, not just for the next grade, but for life. We are hopefully teaching these life skills along the way. We are teaching social skills along the way. So every time you are working with your student, just know that there's a bigger picture here. It is about getting back to our sense of normalcy, but we want to just make sure we're focusing on connecting to the next step. And that's for all of our young people to grow up and be self-sufficient adults. The next key point, provide supplemental lessons and activities. Yes, you are educators in your home. So we want you to be used to providing those lessons and activities with your child. You know, as you even work towards the summertime, that's not a break. That is a time to continue with the enrichment, continue with the learning, and make it exciting, even throughout the summertime. Creating incentives and rewards, yes. Yes, we still must do this. I know a lot of our children are used to the systems at school, the positive behavior intervention supports, their behavior charge, their stickers, their certificates, their gift cards. Create whatever works for your child at home. So make sure you're planning to build in that fun time, build in those incentives, build in those rewards for the end of the school day, for the end of the school week, for the end of the quarter. Just make sure you're keeping that system up that they're used to in their schools. And last, have fun. I used a quote that just keeps me grounded to know that you can have fun. And it says, laughter is like a windshield wiper. It doesn't stop the rain, but it allows us to keep going. So even though we're going through this tumultuous time, we're in the home, we're getting tired, we're feeling the stress, we have to know that we have to unwind, laugh, and keep going. Next slide. Words of inspiration. I love using quotes with my kids because it just sends the message that we're trying to send anyway. So this quote I use, it says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, and by Nelson Mandela. So you can ponder on that quote. Next slide. Where tomorrow begins. I wanted you to focus on 3 things if you do not focus on anything else. Thanks for sharing those quotes. You're welcome. Focus on these 3 things. Creating calm in the midst of chaos. You may not be able to control every situation and its outcome, but you can control your attitude and how you deal with it. So I always remind adults who work with our kids, we are the calm in the midst of their chaos. They look to us. We model the appropriate behavior, we model the appropriate attitude, and we're teaching them how to manage their emotions. So make sure you're creating calm in the midst of this chaos. Creating goals for today, tomorrow, and the next school year is important. So you may get caught up being busy with just the day-to-day stress of what we're going through, but make sure you're still creating new goals for your today, your tomorrow, and the next school year with your students, with your kids. And practice discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And last, traditional norms such as physical school attendance and socialization has changed, but we are still connected. Stay connected with your school and community support system. This is key. So we're all getting used to the distance learning. We're all getting used to getting our supportive services through telehealth. So we're here and we're not going anywhere. So I just wanted to send a message, stay connected to your school support, your community support, ask questions, ask for resources, ask for that additional session. We want to make sure we're setting you up for success. So just remember that we are your biggest advocates right now. We are your greatest resource. Use us. Next slide. Yes, it is very important to stay connected. All right, so creating calm. You heard me talk about that calm in the midst of chaos, and we always use the word mindfulness, and I know that's resonating with you and your students are getting used to it. It's a core value in most of our schools. So I just have 4 pointers to just present to you so you can understand what does calm look like? You know, I hear it, but what does it look like? The first one, stay in the present moment. Stay in the present moment. This is a great strategy to use when you want to decrease that anxiety. You want to stay in the present moment. Give yourself time to just be aware of your surroundings, even your bodily systems, your breathing, your heart rate, focus on that present moment. The next, don't analyze the situation. Sometimes we rush to get the answers to everything, or we rush to make the greatest logical conclusion out of things. Don't analyze it. Just let it be what it's going to be. Accept that there is so much that can be done. This is where we have to accept our limitations, and it's a very vulnerable place to be in, but allow yourself to accept that there is so much that can be done. And trust in something bigger than yourself. This is important. I myself have to practice this, and it goes beyond just religion and spirituality and faith. It actually allows you to think about a cause that you can participate or advocate for. Think about just expanding your compassion for those who are in a more vulnerable position than you. So something bigger than yourself. If you focus on that, it definitely increases your gratitude, and it definitely helps you to understand and just put things in perspective. So I wanted to share those 4 pointers that I practice to create calm for myself, and hopefully it can help you create calm for you and your family in your home. I have some side notes, and I wanted to share these 5 key elements of a healthy mindset: calm, clarity, compassion, definitely spoke about compassion, concentration, and courage. That's a big one that I wanted to highlight, being courageous. And this is a time that I want to just applaud the efforts that every parent is doing in their home. You guys are stepping up, you're meeting the task, you're being there with your children. Some are in various grade levels, different schools. You're getting much communication from teachers, counselors, caseworkers, community support workers, whoever may be in your support system. But I just wanted to applaud your courage for even just meeting the task and just being there for your child. Next slide. Creating new goals. So you heard me mention focus on new goals. This is one thing that keeps me motivated, keeps me energized, keep me in the race. My approach is, we can always go back to the drawing board and start over. So goals is that very thing for me. And you'll see the different type of goals you can create. There are family goals that you can create, goals for next school year, or just education goals, period, financial goals, personal development goals, and self-care goals. These things are important in life. Knowing how to create goals, following your goals, tracking your goals, meeting your goals. And I want all of you to just pick a domain area that you see here and just create a new goal for yourself and your family. For the family section, you may say, you know what? I really want to spend more time with my kids and have healthy communication. Let's all get away and disengage from social media. And let's just have a conversation again. So the same way we open up this presentation with hot topics, pick a hot topic for your family and just start the conversation. This is a great time to create financial goals. Crisis like this reminds us that we should be prepared, and we can be prepared, and our kids can be involved in money management principles. That's another big topic that we can focus on too, how to just keep our kids connected around financial awareness and not take on the burden of what we're going through, but at least understand it. Personal development. This is a time that you can focus on those personal things that you really want to accomplish. Maybe it's growing your faith, working out a little bit more, eating healthier, whatever it is, even practicing mindfulness on a daily basis. Whatever it is, this is a time that we have been given to just recreate and focus on ourselves. And you'll see self-care. We're always going to promote self-care. It's always about taking care of you, because you bear the burden of taking care of others so much. We want you to know that you're amazing, so just take care of you. Next slide. And this is a video that I wanted to share with you all. I listen to motivational videos myself, and my practice is early in the morning, if it's a scripture, if it's a song, or just someone else speaking words of life. So I wanted to just share this video before we move on within the presentation. Please be patient. I want you to listen to the entire thing, and I am sure you will get motivated, and we will play the video.
What is there that you know you need to do, that you want to do this, but for some reason or another, you've been holding back? For some reason or another, you just have not been able to work through the procrastinating or putting it off or justifying, and you know you want to do this. You really want to do this, but you don't know why you haven't done it. There are times when you're looking at it and you say, I know I need to do this, but I don't feel like it.
Sorry, guys.
I don't want to do it.
But I don't accept that. I don't accept that I am what I am and that is what I am doomed to be. No, I'm fighting. I'm struggling and I'm scraping and kicking and clawing at those weaknesses to change them.
In order to begin to reinvent your life, you've got to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort. That you really have got to put all of yourself into it.
There must be discipline. Discipline calls for strength and fortitude and will. It won't accept weakness. It won't tolerate a breakdown in will. It will put you on the path to strength and health and intelligence and happiness and freedom.
What kind of decisions do you make right now? And where are those decisions going to take you? You get one shot. Opportunity comes once in a lifetime, you better make the kind of decisions that's going to take you to the NBA. You better make the right decisions that's going to take you to the NFL. You better make the right decisions that are going to help you to graduate.
When the alarm goes off in the morning, are you going to get up or are you going to roll over and sleep more? Then are you going to go work out or are you going to go watch TV? It's little decisions like that that put you on the right path.
It's one thing to talk about your destiny. It's one thing to dream about your destiny. But it's another thing to make the decisions, to wake up when you know you're supposed to wake up, to write when you don't feel like writing that paper, to say no to that party that you know is not going to help you, saying no to quit when you still got 100 more shots today, saying no when your boss said stop, but you put in 50 more push-ups. You can't just talk about it. You gotta be about it.
All right, so I hope you guys got something out of the video. We'll definitely share the link so you can see it. It could be louder, it could be clearer. But right now, I just want to pass it along to my colleague, Courtney, and she will share some other great information for you guys.
Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to say I love Liz Brown and that video was amazing. So thank you, Danielle. I think it's just also good that we do look at this time that we have with our families and at home as an opportunity. You know, we've always been asking for more time with our kids, more time to know what material they're learning, more time at home, more time for self. And I just think looking at even as grim as a situation may be on outside, we can create our own safe havens on the inside. And I think that's the key to really, you know, find the opportunity in these moments. So what my piece is on is just sharing some tips and tricks on how to work with our students while they're in the home, especially for those who have ADHD and or depression. Now, with that being said, this is not exclusively for those kids, students, or just your children, right? These are rare times and different circumstances that we are dealing with. So we want to keep in mind that anybody at any point in time could be experiencing something. And so we just want to keep that on the radar. And here are some ways that you all can do that. Next slide, please. Okay, so following Danielle's lead, I love me some quotes. So it says, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can always adjust my sails to reach my destination, by Mr. Jimmy Dean. I think that's the dude that makes the sausage, right? So, but it's a good quote, right? You know, some things that we cannot change. We can't change, you know, that coronavirus is here. We cannot change that we are required to stay home for our health and safety. We cannot change that our kids are now doing online schooling, but we can look for the opportunities. We can adjust the way that we do things in our home life, the way that we interact with our kids, with our schools, administrators, in our own personal life, to sort of figure out the best ways to have them reach their academic goals, to still keep our family units close, and to still remain safe and healthy. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just, I know that for some, you already may be familiar with the symptoms and manifestations of ADHD and depression, but this is just a quick review. Coming from the school system and having our kids being in school and then come home, symptoms may start to look different now that home is both school and the place where, you know, they rest and interact with family and things like that. So, and it's also good to see these manifestations here listed. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of how it may present, but you will also notice that anybody could be feeling this way, not just kids and students with ADHD and depression, but I know myself, you know, I've struggled, you know, paying attention, finding myself restless, or, you know, feeling like I'm not getting good quality sleep, you know, just because things have changed. And so just looking at these lists, you may even recognize some of these things that you all might be experiencing as the parents, as the caregivers. And so these tips and interventions may also be used just to level the playing field a little bit between you and your kids, and also other children who may not even have a diagnosis of ADHD or depression. You may start to see these symptoms or reduction in these symptoms, however it may manifest. So just really quick, so for ADHD, the biggest key points that we normally see in children is the inattention and the hyperactivity and impulsivity, right? So this is having difficulty, paying attention for extended periods of time, especially if it's not on material that they're interested in. We see them procrastinating or avoiding tasks that require a lot of mental focus and effort. So, they can spend hours and hours on Fortnite and Roblox, but when it comes to sitting down for an hour in front of their teacher, they struggle. And it's just simply because they may not be interested. It's too much of a different environment than what they're used to. And so it's just sort of like recognizing where they are currently and then trying to help them work through that. Rushing through assignments, making careless mistakes just to have it over with and done, forgetting things, not necessarily, always academic, but say if, you told them, I need you to unload the dishwasher after you finish your online schooling, and they forget, right? They jump straight on the video games, or they go and take a nap as opposed to doing what you asked for them to do. You might see that they're very restless, very fidgety, with us being in the house all the time and us having to rearrange our schedules, them not having that same interaction as before with their friends or getting that physical stimulation out. You might see more restlessness and being unable to sit still. Being intrusive, always wanting to be around you, always wanting to come into the room and see what you're doing, or interrupting you if you're on the phone or if you're in the middle of something, especially for those of us who are working from home. You might set up your office or your station where you're working from, and you realize your kid just all up under you. You just can't get any space, don't know what's going on and why they're behaving that way. Or even if it's just being unable to sit and do things quietly, like they can't sit through a movie and watch it with the family. They can't, they don't want to sit down and read or watch a book, that sort of thing. Just noticing that things that they may have been able to do before, you might see changes in that, okay? And then for depression, this can come in the forms of mental, emotional, and physical, right? So of course we know about the sadness, the hopelessness, that might be increased in this situation, especially when we're encountering things that are out of our control, right? When we're dealing with, mass illness, when we're dealing with a whole society right now where everyone has their hands up, people are pointing and blaming other people, the adults don't know what to do. A lot of times that uncertainty can increase the anxiety and stress that we see in our children and in ourselves, right? So difficulty making decisions and concentrating, deciding whether they want to, read a book or lay down or go outside, deciding, what they want to do for their class project, because normally they're used to having that group atmosphere or collective sphere, but now they're having to make those decisions on their own. You may even see some of your kids, just not feel like doing anything. And this is sometimes customary of depression, but you might see it in children that don't have depression or that don't have a formal diagnosis. They seem sluggish. They seem like all they want to do is sleep and eat. I know I've had a couple of days where all I want to do is sleep and eat. So it's like, you don't have to have the diagnosis of depression to experience these things. And so even in just, the lack of energy that we're seeing and just the ups and downs of emotions and just mental clarity, it's good to recognize the symptoms, but it's also an understanding that some of this may be in response to their already previously diagnosed condition, or it might be in response to what's happening right now. So it's not so much in focusing on the how it happened, but it's just helping them to work through it as it's happening. And sometimes this may not even be the case. I have some of my students who have ADHD and depression who are thriving right now. They love the fact that they can go to school in their pajamas. They love the fact that they can mute everybody else and just focus on the teacher and what they're saying. They like being able to, play their games and then go do their homework and then have everything being in the same space. So while this is just, some symptoms that might show up or something that you might want to look out for, it's not cut or dry. This is what's happening for everybody. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what I created here was sort of tips that you guys can utilize while trying to figure out what's best when working with kids with ADHD or depression, or who may be exhibiting some symptoms, right? So I've broken it down for both ADHD and depression into 4 sort of topics or content. So we have the space, the schedule, the rules, and the interests. So I'll start with space. So working out of our homes, that looks different for everybody, especially when you're looking at, not everybody lives in a house. Some people live in an apartment, a townhouse. You may be living with other family members. You might have a big family, a large family, a smaller family. And so the amount of space that you can utilize is different for everyone. But I do believe that in creating space, especially for those with ADHD, making an organized space to where certain activities take place and that they are aware of will help with the organization and the concentration. So for a child with ADHD, you may not want to have them do their homework in the bedroom, because the bedroom is where their bed is. The bedroom is where their games are. The bedroom is where they have all these other things that they can get into and possibly get distracted by. So a lot of times what I recommend to my parents is to have them sit at the table, create sort of like an office space for them. Like, this is your corner right here of the dining room table. This is where you're going to set up your chair. This is where you're going to set up your pens, your books. This is where your iPad or your computer is going to be sitting. Any materials that you need for the school day will be placed on this side of the table. So that way, whenever class is in session or whenever they're doing an academic activity, they know that it is to be done at the table. And that's just so that way they can get into the focus of, all right, my back is sitting up straight. I'm looking straight at the camera. I don't have any other objects distracting me. I can sort of hone in and focus on what I'm doing. And then it also makes for a multi-use space, right? So if you have a crate or a box or they have their book bag, whenever they're done with their academic studies or whenever they're done with class time, they can easily pack things up and keep it organized to where they can always go to that place that they put it and find their materials. They don't have to worry about losing it in their room, or I left my iPad on my bed last night, I don't know where it is now, sort of thing. And just having that sort of structure that they're used to having in the classroom, imitated in the home, can also sort of create that environment, that space, right? And then next we have schedule. So kids are used to having the school schedule. They know that they have their 7 to 8 class periods. They know when the bell rings or when the teacher calls for transition, they're going from this class to that. They know that they have lunch in the cafeteria. They know that PE is in the gym. They know exactly where they're going at what time every day. But the thing about being at home is usually a place of relaxation. It's usually a place where, after they've gone through the day, after they've dealt with the stress of school, home is where I come to sort of chill out, to relax, be with myself, be with my family, do what I want to do. So the thing is with kids with ADHD is to sort of create a schedule for them that they know what to expect throughout the day, but also have it be flexible, also have it maintain certain breaks and certain limitations for them. So what you'll see in the next slide is you can create a schedule for your children, for your students, and have it placed somewhere in the house to where it's visible, right? So they know that they're waking up at 8 a.m. They know that they're getting dressed between this and this time. And while it might seem a little exhaustive or rudimentary, they actually do well in knowing what they have coming up. So there's no like wild cards. There's no questioning where they need to go, where they need to be, even in the house, right? So if they're trying to get up and go play video games and it's 10 a.m., it's like, well, no, you know that you have your math block at this time. You need to be logged on at 10:15. So you trying to squeeze in a quick game is not going to happen right now. But at 12:30 is lunch. And that opens up a space for you to go and play your video game if you'd like to do so. Right? Or that in the morning from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., there's no cell phone use unless you're logged into class, right? So just letting them know that even though school is online, even though school is at home, there's still going to be structure and expectations there. But it's also allowing it for it to be flexible. Like, you are at home, you do have the home court advantage in a way of being able to allow your kids more flexibility, like more movement breaks, more opportunities to interact with family more, do the things that they enjoy. Like, they don't have their video game system at school, or they can't, call their friends while they're at school, but they might be able to do so during a break. And having multiple breaks, right? That also helps. I know that having back-to-back sessions repeatedly would exhaust me, right? So even in between my sessions, I have a 15-minute break where I might step outside, or I might pick up my ukulele and just play around with that for a little bit, just to clear my head and allow myself that sort of de-stress from whatever I was dealing with throughout my day. And making sure that it's visible. Don't just have it sitting around for you and your agenda, but if it's somewhere where they can see their school schedule or their daily schedule, that really helps for them to keep themselves in check, rather than you always having to go behind them and then let them know what they're supposed to be doing. And then, of course, rules. Right now, these are pretty straightforward, just in the simple fact that every household has rules. You know, every parent does their own way of parenting. So what I mean by rules is not necessarily telling you guys how to discipline, but it's more so understanding that your role has changed for some to an extent, right? Your kids are used to seeing you as the authoritarian, as a part of a parental role. Like, this is my mom, this is my dad, this is my grandma. But that's seen a little differently than an administrator or a teacher, right? And I think right now we're being forced to put on those hats as well. So setting up those rules to where your kids also see you as the teacher. They also see you in that position of, when I say it's school time, this is what we're doing, and I'm now wearing this hat, to where the stuff that, you know, mom may have allowed, Miss Simpson is not going to allow that because it's school time and I'm Miss Simpson, right? I'm not saying that you have to have your kids call you like that, but just having them understand that the role has shifted, right? So when talking about rules, and this is also another thing, is to keep them visible. Let them know, like, these are the rules that we are working with at our homeschool, right? Because it is essentially homeschool. Even though it's online and they're interacting with their teacher, you are the school building at home, right? Making sure that it's appropriate for the age that you're working with, especially for, you know, parents with kids of different ages. You know, doing timeout for a 7-year-old might not work, but timeout for the babies might work. You know, they might see, oh, she's serious, she's talking about timeout. But you telling a 7-year-old timeout, they probably gonna laugh your head off. So that might not work. But, you know, say, all right, you're gonna help mom in the kitchen, right? That sort of, you know, rule may not have existed in traditional school building, but you can sort of have that flexibility to be able to do so because you are at home, and not every kid wants to help out with the dishes. So that might be a way of integrating home life with the school expectations. It's also, I would say, for the older children, help them get involved. I know with a lot of our teachers in middle school, they often do like classroom norms and expectations with their students at the start of the school year. So that doesn't mean that has to be cut out. I would say if you have older kids, you know, 4th grade and up, you can get them involved in creating the classroom rules, creating the homeschool rules, creating the norms and expectations, so they know if, you know, we're supposed to raise our hand if we need to get up from the table, or we need to be at voice level 3 when we're doing our work. But if I do outside of that, then here are the consequences. I feel like sort of school norms can still be, you know, maintained within the home, but just adjusted slightly to fit the environment and the age that you're dealing with. And for ADHD, the interests are a big thing, right? You know, this is a time to where we can really be in communication more so than before with our teachers and administrators, and learning about our students' curriculum, learning about what they're learning, you know, requesting that we get the agenda ahead of time, right? So we can know exactly what our kids are learning for that day. So if we want to find something around the house or find something that we can incorporate into their learning. So if our kids are learning about genetics or biology, maybe I have some seeds somewhere around the house that we can start our own garden at home, and we can talk about the different ways that plants grow and fertilize and, you know, happen to come into being, right? Because I know that my child's teacher is talking about this thing in school, so I want to expand on that at home, right? And also for kids with ADHD, is just doing more hands-on learning, having them manipulate things as they're learning. So if they're doing math and they're learning about, you know, diameter and circumference, maybe having some blocks somewhere around the house, or having some sticks that they can manipulate to make different geometric shapes and things like that. Just finding different ways to engage them to where it pulls them in, but not necessarily takes them away from what they're learning. Okay, any questions so far? I know that was a lot.
Yes, Courtney, we have a couple of comments in the chat box. Ms. Wallace says she was agreeing with you, saying, yes, kids are very visual. So make sure, to just have everything posted. And Ms. Kim wrote one beautifully said, Courtney. And she says some parents' table in the house is multi-purpose, eating, dining, sitting, child school time. Would it be helpful to have a written schedule next to the table to transition?
So in answer to that, I would say yes. And you'll see what I'm talking about in the next slide, is that if your homeschool is in, say, the dining room, you have the table, you have the little corner where you put like all the school supplies. I would say on the wall, you could even decorate it like a classroom, right? Like I know that there's some teachers who are working from home, but they also have their kids there. So if you can dust off any old posters or, create the schedule on one of those bigger sheets of paper, find some stuff on Amazon to decorate it to make it look like the classroom environment, like post the rules on the wall, post the noise levels on the wall, post the schedule, so that way everybody's on the same page. It may not look aesthetically pleasing to everybody, but I think just in creating that environment to where they now are triggered to thinking school, right? These visuals can be a trigger to them going back to, okay, this is classroom setup. I got my chair. You can put like, this is, Tyreek's chair. This is John's chair. Have it set up the way a classroom would be set up. So that way they understand that this is the time and this is the environment that they're in right now. But the expectation is still there. If that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. And then Ms. Ryder just asked us, would it be helpful for one of her parents? She actually is at the Friendship Online campus to give the parents a tip on managing a daily routine. The online campus, they actually were used to this because their kid was doing everything solely online. And so, they have their different routines, the different things that they were already doing for their students. And so I told her, sure, that would be helpful. So we can definitely, make sure we have some of those tips from one of her parents as well.
Right. And in the next slide, what you guys will see is actually just like an example of that. I sort of whipped this up. What did I just do? Oh, okay. Oops, sorry. My screen went away. So as you can see, so these are the examples that I just pulled offline. So the voice levels that you see, I know at friendship schools, they do that. I'm not sure if all schools do it, but having something like this, and you don't have to have this exact thing, you can create it yourself on, say, some big paper or construction paper, and just let them know, especially for the younger kids, I would say even up to middle school, because they still do the voice levels, is to have it written down on a sheet of paper and post it on the wall. Post it in multiple rooms if you need to be quite honest, because if it's say, all right, this is the bedroom, right, but they're at level 5 in the bedroom and it's bedtime, then you can let them know, okay, that's not appropriate, you need to bring it down to level 3, right, or level 2. And it's just letting them know that these are the expectations that you're setting, but they can also see exactly where they're supposed to be. These could be like an indicator of where they're supposed to be at that time. Also, in terms of incentives and rewards, right? Having a sort of behavior chart of some sort to let them know where they are for the day or where they need to strive to be. Again, visuals are a key point, just because we want to let them know that these are the expectations, and I want you to also be self-aware of where you are right now. And then the third image that you see is just, I created this schedule on Word. Like I inserted a table and I just started entering different things. And the way I set it up, it's for kids of different age ranges. So I made Ray and Tay like elementary and middle school, and then May is like a preschooler or kindergartner, right? And so this might answer your question more about the schedule outside of school, because as you can see, this is a schedule for the entire day, right? So wake up time is 8 to 9. Then we have, the 9 to 9:30 is eat breakfast for everyone. And then we have the morning meeting and class setup. And what I put here is, you see like the little asterisk, I put that as, this is a no cell phone time, no electronic time. So when we're waking up and getting dressed, we're not checking Instagram, we're not on the phone, we're not watching TV, because that only delays the process. And we know how frustrating it could be to try to get 3 kids ready and everybody's doing their own thing, right? And so this just also lets kids know the expectations for home now as well, right? Morning meeting and setup is just when this might be you guys setting up the classroom. This might be you guys talking about, okay, yesterday was a really great day. I would love to see more of that in today's class, or just today in general. Or if I see, 3 outstandings from all of you today, then you guys can choose what movie we're watching later on tonight. Just sort of have that huddle up before everybody starts their own particular schedule. And then we have the break for online learning, right? So 2 of the kids are online learning, but then little May is reading a packet, right? So that might indicate to you that, okay, I need to be working a little bit more one-on-one with her because she's in kindergarten and she might need some help reading that packet. Whereas the other 2 can be set up at the table and do their own thing, right? And then we have movement breaks for everybody, but it looks different. So I have Ray, he's doing an at-home workout. He might be an athlete, so maybe he needs something a little bit more rigorous, but I have, Tay and May doing yoga, right? So this also indicates to them, and you can switch it up. It doesn't have to just be like a movement break. It could be music time, or it could be reading. It could be whatever activity you have them doing outside of the online school. And then we have lunch. We have more online learning and math packet. And this one is a key, that 2:15 to 3 o'clock. You see how afternoon meeting is for Ray and Tay, but then May has nap time. I wanted to touch on nap time because I know that some of my parents, especially for the little ones, like the preschooler age and the kindergarten age, they have not been doing nap time and they have been running amok, right? So I want you guys to remember that you can still incorporate those things to sort of help give you a break, give them a break, especially if you have, multiple kids at home, but you have a little one running around. Nap time is still a good resource to use, especially for giving them their break, but also spending more additional time with the older kids if need be. So that's also a recommendation. When you have kids of varying ages, it's still a good time for having the little ones take their naps and take their lunch breaks a little earlier than the older kids. So that way everybody's not trying to seek your attention or your time at the same time, if that makes sense. And then it just goes on throughout the day: family tasks, homework, leisure, playtime, dinner, free time, and then bedtime for little May, right? So you can see how the schedule can help keep everyone on track, but this same schedule does not apply for each child, just based on their development, where they are academically, and, even what they're dealing with personally, right? Okay, next slide. Any questions on that, Barney? Yep, I love behavior charts too. Okay, great. Oh, yeah, go back. Okay. All right, so this is the same setup for kids who are dealing with depression or depressive symptoms. Same structure: space, schedule, rules, interests. The rules part is the same for kids with depression as kids with ADHD. Making sure they're age appropriate, making sure that they're visible, giving them opportunity to take part in the making of rules and norms. And I feel that pretty much that'll work for either kid. Space. Now, the way this differs for kids with depression. So before I said creating space for different activities, and I also put the organizational bit for children with ADHD. Now, this for kids with depression is maybe creating a space for relaxation and quiet, right? So this is touching on what Danielle was speaking of in terms of mindfulness, in terms of creating that calm and that relaxation, right? A lot of times, we think about ADHD as the ones that are being triggered and overstimulated and exhausted and things like that and moving around a lot. But a lot of times our kids with depression are experiencing the exact same thing, except for it's more internalized. And therefore they need more of a mental break, more of an emotional break from things. And so creating sort of like, in classrooms, we did sort of like quiet corners and relaxation corners and things like that, so kids can get themselves together. But it might be a good idea to have the kids create their own space within the house. And so we understand that still space is limited and not everybody's setup is the same, but it doesn't have to be anything grand or fancy. Like, Closets are a big thing with some of my kids. Like, I don't know how many sessions I've done, and I'm sitting in a closet and it's dark and all I can see is a half a face, right? So I don't know what it is about closets. They like it. Cool. It gives them privacy, especially if they share a room, and just like the having something around and warm and cozy, they like it. And so if it's something even as small as that, like creating a closet space for them or a corner in their room, like everybody gets a corner in the house that's their quiet corner, if that's what needs to be, right? Or making their room their quiet place. So when they're taking their break, they can go into their room as opposed to being out with everyone. Because sometimes kids with depression do need that time alone, that time to reflect, that time to sort of reset the batteries, if you will, same way we do, right? And as far as schedule, it's just allowing a little bit more time for reflection, more time for mindfulness, more time for relaxation activities, whether it's, you know, movement, which can be a good, you know, endorphin increaser, just, you know, make you feel good, but also something for creative expression. So whether that be journaling, whether that, you know, be creating something as far as like art, origami, drawing, singing, listening to music, having times set up in their schedule to where they have a chance to do those activities, whether they wanted to do it with somebody else in the house or do it by themselves. Excuse me. And then the next is for interests. I think it's good to understand that we encourage children or anyone in the house who might be experiencing depression or anxiety for that matter, is just encouraging different ways of communicating. You know, we're not always going to have those moments to where we can check in with every single one of our children one-on-one and for them to open up to us completely, but maybe setting up a different structure of communicating, whether it's, you know, leaving a thought in a thought jar and you check it at the end of every day to see what their questions or their concerns or their issues were during the day, whether it's having a notebook to where each one, you have a notebook with each one of your kids, and that's how you guys communicate, like the deep stuff, the stuff that they don't want anybody else to know about, that they're talking to you about. Or even just coming to terms with, you may not be the person that they want to check in with, right? But as long as they can identify somebody that they can lean on. So whether that be dad, grandparents, another sibling, you know, their counselor, whether it's pastor or somebody in their community that they can reach out to, recognizing that they have that support or that identified person somewhere within the support network that they have. And then also giving them opportunities to learn something outside of the curriculum, right? And this can go for any child, really, whether it's learning a new language or picking up an instrument or learning how to draw, or, you know, I want to get more fit. So, you know, watching YouTube videos and having like workout sessions with them weekly, whatever it is to feel like that they aren't boxed in, giving them opportunities to, of course, be around family, connect with family, but also giving them those opportunities to set themselves apart, take that time to themselves. Okay, next slide. And so these are just some, you know, examples, like here's some gratitude journal prompts that I have here. I found this online. Here's a picture of a little boy and his mama. They're doing some meditation. You know, this could just be everybody has their own little mat or a towel, or we just sitting in the middle of the living room floor and we all want to have quiet time. Here's a little girl. She has her little nook. It looks like it's under the stairs. If you have a space like that, great. But like I said, closets work well. I have a little girl. She has a bed that's on risers, so she goes underneath her bed for her little sanctuary, and it works. So wherever they find, you know, like their little quiet space or their sanctuary, I think is a really good idea, just for calm and relaxation purposes. And next slide. Okay. And so I'm just going to wrap it up here. These things are for you guys, right? So there's no perfect way of doing it. Every child may require something different. So don't put pressure on yourselves to have it perfect every time. I know that when I'm interacting with kids, it's not perfect every time. I'm constantly changing things. If something isn't working, change it, right? Or ask the kids' input. I realized this worked yesterday, but it's not working today. What was the shift? Right? Or even, you know, if you don't have all the answers, making sure that you can also lean on someone. It's not just about, you taking care of everyone or you being the rock that everyone leans on, but making sure that you have that outlet too. You have that care, that support system that you need to be able to reach out to when in need. And then I also, begin and end my day with me. I don't care how much I have on my workload. I don't care who's in the house, what they're doing, what they need. I always begin and end my day with me. So if that means I have to wake up an extra hour and a half earlier to do some meditation, some prayer, and some journaling, then that's what I'm going to do. Because, you can't give what you don't have to other people. And that's the main thing. You can't give from an empty cup. And if you're burnt out, you're not taking care of yourself, as Danielle said, you're not going to have it to give to anyone else. No matter how much you try, it's just going to feel like you hitting up against a brick wall. So make sure that once the kids are in bed, you take some time to yourself. You do some self-care, you do some prayer, eat your favorite meal, have your little wine, whatever. You do what you need to do to help you get through the day as well. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Simpson and Ms. Nelson. They definitely presented some great tools for us. And so here's just utilizing your resource. Of course, we always want to make sure that if you or anyone else or your student, if you're struggling with any mental health issues or any other issues, please make sure that you are reaching out for assistance. You can reach out to your school counselors. You can definitely reach out to us. I have our office number there. Our website is smiletherapyservices.com. The Department of Behavioral Health is a great resource for mental health. And they also they're doing a warm line. That's the number I have here. And this warm line is really to assist with anything that you may need. And so just make sure that you are reaching out. We also have the DC Mayor's Helpline, 311. And if all else fails, you can definitely call your insurance company to get, they can help you with finding a provider in your network. And so now, we want to say thank you for attending. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you. Thank you very much. A lot of people are putting in the chat. It's been super helpful. Thank you so much. Ms. Tosin said earlier, this was great material. We're doing this for you all. We know there's a need out there and we just really want to support the parents. So as we are all going through this pandemic together, and so we wanted to just have something where we can just provide support. We can give you tools, we can give you interventions, and we can just be here to support. So please let us know if you have any questions about the information that we presented today. Great, everyone's just saying thank you. You are so welcome. Thank you all for joining us. And so for the next couple weeks, we're going to do something a little different. So we are going to have something a little more interactive. And so what we want to do for next week is a sip and create. And so we will send you all the link to that because it will be more of like a meeting style link where we'll be able to interact with you all as we are creating our drawing and that we will do. And so with that, we just want you to have a space where you can just do something fun, relax, we can have good conversation, and then create something nice. So we will send the information out for that definitely to you. And then the week after that, we'll probably do a yoga session with you guys. So we'll keep you posted on that because I know that's something that some of the parents said they wanted to do. Please let us know if you have any other ideas of any other things you would like us to do. We're going to try to keep this going until at least toward the end of May to help you guys out until the end of the school year because we know it's going to be a little rough. We have at least another like month and a half to go. And so we want to make sure that we can be here to support you throughout. All right, Ms. Baltimore says she loves yoga. So yes, it's open to the public. Please, when we send the information to you, you can send it to your friends, your family members. You know, we are just here to help the community. So we are putting this out for anyone. We put it out to all of our families that we work with, but please feel free to put it out there to your family and your friends. You know, anyone can join us, definitely. Let us know if you have any other ideas. So that's a couple, for the next couple of weeks, that's what we are going to do. But we are taking ideas for any other interactive thing that you would like us to do with you during this time. So I'll give about a minute or two for any more questions or any feedback about other things you would like us to incorporate. I want to say just thank you again for joining us. Thank you to Ms. Simpson and Ms. Nelson. They did a great job today. Thank you to all of my other therapists who are on the webinar. I see you all. And thank you all for participating. And let us know if you had any other ideas of what you would like us to do with you guys. So we have some yoga coming and we have a sip, whatever you want, and create. So I'll wait to see if anyone else have any ideas. Someone said a cooking class. Okay. That could be interesting. We'll have Mr. Marshall do that class because you know I can't run it. Oh, someone said spoken word. Okay. That's interesting. We'll definitely look into that. Thank you. Any other ideas? Is Abby still on here? Spoken word. Okay. All right. If you have any other ideas, please feel free to email me or just talk to your therapist and let them know what ideas you have. And we will definitely make sure that we can get your, you know, bring your ideas to fruition. Because, you know, that's what we're here for, to support you guys. So whatever it is that you want to do, we're going to try to make it, you know, make it work. We'll see who we have in our Rolodex and we will put it together for you. So thank you again. Please, please, please have a great week. Keep yourself safe. You know, if you have to go out, please make sure you're wearing your mask and your gloves. You know, we're praying for everyone and we are praying that this will, you know, subside soon. So thank you so much. We appreciate you all and we'll see you next week. So look out for your emails for the Sip and Create. Bye.